Hi, all. This is going to be I'm going to try to make it a very quick review over the experiences of the Great Depression. I'm not going to necessarily be giving answers away, more of a discussion on what the primary source is talking about. So as you can see from my screen, we are looking at the primary sources of the Great Depression. We did the fireside chat in class. Just a reminder that the fireside chats are going to be about weekly conversations through the radio, which sounds weird, but what's going to happen is Franklin Delano Roosevelt is going to basically update your average American citizens via radio. And this isn't a speech necessarily. This is truly, he's making it seem like a conversation of, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing about it. Ultimately, the hope is to reassure the people and tell them that, hey, this is what is working. We have a long way to go, but we're seeing improvements. Okay. We talked about why would he give these talks? Well, some of it is to, like I said, reassure the average citizen that things will be okay, give them some hope. Another reason is for people to realize, like, hey, like what he's doing is working. Maybe they should remember that for re-election time, okay, which they will. Number 2 was, do you consider him to be a good speech giver? You will have to listen to it if you have not done so in order to determine why you think he is or is not a good orator. What are some pieces of information that he shared? He talks about a couple different things. He talked about making sure that the US dollar, was safe and secure, that it was going to keep its monetary value. All right. Other things he talked about was bringing up that, okay, 40% of those looking for jobs have gotten them. So that's huge improvement. He talked about, hey, if you're about to lose your farm or your home, telegraph us, reach out and apply, and we will delay those payments. He also talked about, lastly, about how farmers' prices are going up, which sounds like a bad thing, but it's not. When farmers' prices go up, that means what they're selling their crop for is going up. And I would rather sell my, let's say, corn for $5 a bushel rather than just $2 a bushel. And then why would those things be important to Americans during the Depression? A lot of it gives them some hope. And maybe they find out that, hey, I can delay my payments on my farm or my house. Okay. It is also helpful for them as well. Then we went down to firsthand accounts. You only had to choose 2 out of the 3 stories to read. I'm just going to tell you basically what they're about. So this first one by Virginia Durr, she is just talking about how much people are suffering. She talks about the kids and how they are not getting enough nutrition, and how there is a lot of food and food going to waste. And she can't understand it, but that's ultimately because nobody can buy the food. She talks about how people blame themselves, not the system. And that's where we see a vocab word from earlier in this unit, fundamentalists. Okay, those people that believe that the Bible basically is law, that they need to follow it to a T. And fundamentalists, especially the preachers of fundamentalists, are saying this is because people sinned. This is, it is your fault that you're going through this. You have sinned. God is punishing you. So people are being told this as well, not just that this is how it was set up, and unfortunately, it crashed. All right. Eileen Bark, a government aid worker, she talked about going to a family in which she had to see if they were poor enough to receive help. And she talked about that experience of going to this family and basically telling them, prove that you're poor, and how, the husband or the father in the home is embarrassed to be forced to prove, like, you don't trust me that I'm seriously in poverty. He was humiliated even that he was reaching out for help. Okay. I could see he was very proud. He was so deeply humiliated, and I was too. She is humiliated that she was forced to go basically say, you got to prove it, why you need this help. Emma Tiller, she talked about how before the crash that she and her husband were sharecroppers, and they didn't make money. The owners were taking all of the crop. We've talked about that in past units. And what she said, though, is she didn't suffer as much as other people did. And I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me is when you go through a lot, you're in better condition to survive through all those kinds of things. She was used to barely making it. And with all the aid that is coming through at this time, she is not in a position to barely make it. She is actually receiving help that she didn't get earlier. All right. We have photo analysis. Look at the 3 out of the 5 pictures. I believe in you guys that you can handle looking at them. One thing, evacuation means to leave. Okay. So when you're looking at the evacuation sale, they are leaving, they are not coming back. Okay. So that's just kind of a vocab word. Going to Oregon or bust. All right. And then a crowd gather outside an employment office. Okay. All right. A family shack. Cartoon analysis. I'll go through these pretty quickly. The title of this one, Confidence in Your Doctor is Half the Battle. Okay. So we see it looks like Uncle Sam, he's got the goatee. He's labeled as the U.S. It looks like his part of his arm up here is in the budget. The rest of the arm is in a cast called depression. And here is Roosevelt coming in to help with that. I can't tell what this Band-Aid says. This one down here says banking. Okay. But here's Roosevelt coming in to help. From here, we see this is Herbert Hoover, who was the president before Roosevelt, basically coming in with all of these things, economy measures, farm problems, tariffs, war debts, budget, saying it's his baby now. All right, it's his deal. Roosevelt has to deal with all of these things. Okay, it's his problem. The squirrel, okay, asking, but why didn't you save some money for the future when times were good? He's a victim of bank failure. I did. We got to remember back to those bank runs when people tried to get their savings out and literally they can't. Their money is gone. It is not there. Those things, that money that they relied on is not there, okay, due to bank failure. All right. And then we have one labeled Hope. Hands labeled Roosevelt and dealing the cards. Okay. All right. I should say dealing. Fixing. All right. Dealing a death card as if he were gambling. What do you think this says about Roosevelt's proposed solutions? Okay. Ultimately, we didn't know if it was going to work or not. That was a struggle to see if it was going to work. Unfortunately, majority of them did work. Okay. The next was letters to Eleanor. Eleanor Roosevelt is the first lady the husband of the president. That's why she's called the first lady. She was a very active first lady. Okay. Much of what she did was including writing letters that she had received of people going through the Great Depression. And so this first one basically is about kind of like prohibition. Okay, do you think your advocacy of drunkenness for young girls will reduce debauchery? Debauchery is like shenanigans and troublemakers and all that type of stuff. Basically, she's chastising. This woman, E.L. Couture, is wagging her finger at Eleanor Roosevelt saying, like, I can't believe that you think it's okay to drink, especially for young women. That is absolutely crazy. Like, I voted for your husband and I'm ashamed of that. Okay. You are a flap. Please be quiet like a good woman. Versus this second one, this is written by a little girl, basically reaching out, basically almost kind of telling her about her life. I'm 14. I ride 5 miles to school on horseback when it's too many for the bus. She basically wants she wants a new radio. So she's kind of asking like, hey, is it possible that you can send a new radio? Ours is so bad. I really love listening to you. We're just poor renters on a farm. There's no money for the radio. That type of stuff. All right. From Wolf City, Texas. And the very last one is a video about the Dust Bowl. Okay, the Dust Bowl was a set of windstorms during a drought in the Midwest that picked up tons of soil. Okay, and that blew that soil across multiple states. Okay, so in watching the video, you would see what is truly happening, and then you would answer these questions. Okay. If you do need any additional help, we will be talking about it in class on Thursday and Friday. But as always, there will be a text under Textbook Explained. If you go down to this unit, there's also that slideshow that I went through in class, Experiences of the Great Depression slideshow. Okay, so hopefully that would help as well. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know.